Okay, this is the June 2023 Mallets and Manuscripts meeting. We are super excited to have JaRon here today. Joseph knows JaRon really well. You all went to undergrad together, correct?
Yes, we both went to USC together. So yeah.
Sweet. And then I know JaRon through Wildlife Publications, which is a publication company that JaRon runs with some of your friends from USC.
Yeah, it's a group effort. So yeah, that's how I know you. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So normally what we do is we just have like the composers just like give a brief background of like their journey through composing, and then we will jump into the pieces that you brought today, if that's okay with
Yeah,
you.
it's perfectly fine, sure thing. So my name is JaRon. I am from Hollywood, South Carolina. Born and raised. I've been here practically all my life. I started composing when I was in middle school, and I didn't really take it serious until maybe my sophomore year at USC. So I actually went to three different schools before I got to USC. Well, two. So I went to Western Carolina University and Coastal Carolina. So I didn't officially take it serious until I got to USC. But during that whole time, I was like writing music mainly like for like marching band because I know I was so, yeah, go Cats, nice. So yeah, Catamounts, yeah. That's, yeah, I didn't take it serious until I got to USC. At that time, I was just like a performance. Well, I was a education major, and I wanted to do the whole teaching thing, which, I didn't pan out. I had that composition bug, so pursued it, got my degree, and ever since I've been working at trying to build a career out of this. It's been a journey. It's been a lot of grinding, and I still struggle, but I have had a lot of successes most recently. So I am, pretty excited about where the future could take me. So yeah, composing is hard, but it's rewarding. I feel like I enjoy making art, and I've always been like very artistic. So this is just a beautiful muse that I get to be a part of as well. So yeah.
That's great. I did not know that you like went to multiple new universities before you came to USC. I think that
Yeah,
a lot of the times we just like don't talk about things like that, and like I think it's really important, especially for like younger individuals who are like, what am I doing with my life? Like, am I in the right space? Or even I know what I want to do with my life, but I'm not in the right space. Like, it's important for people to hear about stuff like that.
yeah, I agree. You hit it on the head. Like I didn't know where I needed to be. When I went to Coastal, I didn't feel like I fit there. And then I went to Western and I felt like I fit there, but I just couldn't afford it. So I came to USC and I just, was able to afford it, and, I stuck it out through the race. But that really was my struggle, was like trying to find where I could be and thrive and really excel. And I feel like when I went to USC, that's when I really like um, took music serious and, um, finished finally. Lord, it was a long journey. Don't ask my mom about it, cause I made those pockets hurt. Like really, y'all, school is so expensive. And I am in the process of thinking of going back. So like this is gonna be on me. So, I know, right? I know. I keep hearing people say, "Don't do it." It's like a horcrux. Like, don't do it. Yeah. But I'm considering it. Just because I want to like move, and I feel like being in school, like I had, more opportunities per se. So yeah.
Sweet. Um, can you talk a little bit about like your compositional style, maybe like how that's changed through when you started to where you are now, things you think about when you're composing, stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely share. So I feel like my musical voice has always been pretty strong. Even when I like started taking music serious, my sophomore year. But a lot of my pieces, a lot of the pieces that I write are rooted in emotion. So that drives me. Before I start writing any work, I always have like the title first and a concept. And the concept is pretty like lore heavy. So there's a lot of like nuances that I pull from to create this like sonic space that I'm trying to create. I feel like as I've grown, I've figured out how to use those mechanics, those compositional mechanics, to make it make sense to the listener. I feel like sometimes when I first started, um, I felt like I was writing music solely for myself, and I feel like that is important, but also I want people to understand and grasp and feel what I'm writing too. So like as I've grown, I've learned how to like marry the two. Like this is really a conversation from my space to yours. So that's really become like a driving factor for me now. But it's always going to be heavy of emotion. It's going to have a lot of lore. Very colorful, very animated, very atmospheric, but also you know, very like full of just like life and me, my personality. So
Yeah, I noticed that when I was listening because I've heard some of your pieces before, but then I hadn't heard the underside of Make Believe before, and that was something actually that I was thinking of was like your what did you say like spatial setting? Is that what you said? You said something
yeah,
like that. Um, you just have you have a lot going on, but it's not overwhelming. As you said, it's just like setting the scene.
hmm yeah, like yeah, and that's the thing. Like I always hear, oh my God, there's so much to listen to, because I'm just like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. But over time, I've learned how to find a way to make it feel a little bit more kaleidoscopic. So like you're, listening to all these different things, but they work together. They're needed. Like if something is missing, it feels incomplete. So that's how I've started thinking about writing um moving forward. But yeah, very kaleidoscopic, like all of these different like fragments and like pieces that all work together, but it still overwhelms you, but in a good way. So yeah.
Great. Mackenzie or Lucas, do you have any questions before we move on to JaRon's works? Sweet. Okay. So, JaRon, which one would you like to sample first?
Let's start with the underside. I love that piece, and it's the newest one. So let's start there. I feel like it's a great piece to listen to a little bit and kind of see where we go from there.
Okay. Do you want to give us any backstory about it, or do you want us to just listen to it and then talk about it?
Yeah, I can actually talk about it first. So, the underside of Make Believe is basically I saw the movie Nope. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's by Jordan Peele, so it's like a sci-fi horror thriller, and it deals with like, of course, this like spaceship that's like eating people. So the whole like deeper lore of it is like the idea of spectacle. So I wanted to create something that was a little bit darker for me, but also um just dealt with the idea of like something that seems too good to be true. Like I equate that to like doom scrolling. So after I work a long shift, I come home and I have so many things to do, but I just sit on my phone and I just like scroll through TikTok. So like that to me is like, it's like that dopamine that I get from seeing all those videos and like laughing and whatever, but I've wasted so much time, you know? Like I've literally just sat here for like 4 hours, like just looking at videos. So that's kind of the idea. It's like it feels a little bit minimalist, but also it has all these like different like nuances that kind of come throughout. And I use like these like fans um that like clack towards later of the piece, and there's singing, so it's I'm asking a lot of the performer, but it just all works. So yeah.
Great. Okay. So I'll go to the video. Do you want me to start at the beginning? Do you want me to hit certain sections? What would you
We can
prefer?
start at the beginning, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can maybe go to like towards the do the fan part, like
Okay.
midways. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Man, they're such great performers too. Like I love Sandbox. Like that whole experience writing this piece for them was incredible. Oh man, yeah.
They are awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know about when the fan stuff starts? I don't remember. Is it like
Yeah, so it starts like I think maybe let's see. It starts about 7 minutes in.
Okay, I'll move to there
Mhm.
next.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, that piece is really cool.
It is super cool. Yeah, I mean, I have questions, but is there anything
Yes,
you'd
go
like
ahead.
to say?
No, let's start with the questions. You're fine. Yeah.
Okay. So, did you like I know you submitted for their thing to do this, and
Mhm.
did they tell you it had to be mallet quartet? Did you decide you wanted a mallet quartet? Like, how did that work out?
So yeah, so they basically I had the free reign to like do what I wanted. Of course, it had to be a quartet of something, but I think we naturally settled on a mallet quartet, being that I haven't written one. So that kind of naturally came about the conversation. We our initial sketches in our first meetings, we were just like messing around with sound. Like I was just telling them, yeah, I know I want singing to be included. And like I had an idea of some of the melodic material, but like where we started and where we ended, two different things. So yeah.
Yeah, I love the singing. And that seems to be is this the first time that it's live? I feel like in the other pieces I've heard, it's always been through track. But
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah. So there's a piece that I wrote called Gutterflies that uses singing too.
oh,
But
okay.
it's not as extensive as this one is because like I feel like when I wrote Gutterflies, I was just trying things. But when I wrote this piece, I was like, okay, I really want to make an effort to make singing like a focal point and speaking. So, but also make it like easy. Because sometimes like I feel like I'm like I'm making the performance do so much. Like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, this. And like it just gets overwhelming for them. So yeah, this was like I really wanted to make sure that singing made sense in this. So
Yeah, I think the singing is super effective. And then also
Thanks.
I feel like the two layers of like the singing, but then also the whisper speaking,
Yeah, yeah.
it creates like all these textures because you got like the mallet instruments and you got the percussion and then you've got the singing and then the whispers and it just like really fills out the texture
Yeah, thank
nicely.
you. I appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah, that was the goal. I wanted to kind of make it feel a little creepy, so um that all worked, I guess. I guess it worked this time. So, yeah.
I have another question, but do y'all have any
Yeah,
before I keep talking, Mackenzie or Lucas?
he's gonna call
I'll
me.
go ahead.
He's actually calling me right now.
He's working right now,
Yeah.
so um so the percussive interjections, um just like what was your thought process behind that? That's question one. And then question
Yeah.
two is like the two cymbals that are muted and then the rubber band on the vibraphone, like I assume those are things you've seen in other pieces because I know the rubber band's in the Akiho stuff.
Mm,
But I was just
yeah.
wondering like influences and like where you came up with some of your techniques.
Yeah, thanks. So the percussive interjections kind of it's supposed to be like this like snap out of it type thing. Like I feel like a lot of the melodic stuff kind of lulls you and lures you in. So like I am trying to create a sonic juxtaposition. So like, oh, everything's sweet and beautiful, but wait a minute, this is going to like, derail everything really fast, just to kind of cleanse your ears, so that you're aware that like it sounds familiar, but don't get too comfortable. So that's really what I was thinking, like really trying to add another um motive outside of just like the melodic material. And then so Akio did inspire a lot of this. I love rubber band snaps. I actually really like slapsticks, and I would write that in every piece if I could. So like that's essentially what I wanted and I needed, but of course that's not practical. So snaps worked, and then like the cymbal stacks, it's always something that I've noodled around with. So in my instrument like wheelhouse, like that's always something I naturally gravitate towards. But yeah, so that was just something that I was like, oh, okay, cool. But we collaborated with like picking different sounds. So that was just something that they naturally settled on, and I was happy about that. Yeah. So yeah.
Cool. Why is cymbal sex something you gravitate towards, if you don't mind me asking?
No, yeah, you're good. Just because I like the compressed sound, I like how mechanical it sounds too. And it's sometimes it can sound kind of like a snare. So like in my mind, those stacking cymbals or playing around with those ideas or playing around with those instruments, like you can create like very unique sounds. So I just felt like that was just necessary for this. Some sort of like metallic, mechanical um instrument that I don't know that exists besides stacking cymbals. So yeah.
Yeah, I liked the timbre a lot. I felt like with everything else that was going on, like that timbre did exactly what you were trying to go for, which is like snap out
Thank
of
you.
it, like recenter.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's literally what it is. It's just snap out of it. Like, don't get too glamored. It's a beautiful piece. There's like so many different like moments where it's just so pretty, and then I ruin that. So, so I'm just like, yeah, I need to destroy your soundscape for a little bit, but in a good way. Like, it's not like anything that's like really like out of the blue, hopefully to your ears. But yeah, it's it's a really pretty piece. Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
and
and
creepy. Yeah.
I feel like it fits though because the motives that you are playing on the mallet instruments, you then use that same rhythmic motive in the percussion. And so even though it's like a snap out of it moment, it's still like very much is in the style of the piece.
Yeah. Yeah, I made that an effort to make sure like whatever motive I create, I kept you like I'm basically trying to hold your hand through this. So it's not like so out of the blue. Because sometimes I can do that. Like I really just like can take a hard left and we're just like, wait, how did we even get here? But yeah, I wanted to guide you through this space that we're sharing.
Lucas, did you
Yeah.
have a question when you put your finger up, or was that a I got to take a call?
Yes, I was going to ask a question and then I had to do work. Um, yeah, so first of all, I really enjoy the piece. It
Thank you.
I don't know, like I had to like walk around and do stuff while Hannah asked a question about like some of your influences. So maybe you already covered this, but and this isn't my main question, but I got a lot of the piece. I think it's called Symmetry and Sharing. Maybe that's not the full title, but Andrea Mazzariello. I don't know if you know that piece. Uh,
No, yeah.
no, okay. It's for he wrote it for Mobius Percussion, and it's very similar in the fact that it's percussion quartet. I think they all have mallet instruments, but they're singing and they're like playing percussion instruments in sort of like a hockety sort of way. Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're very cool and like it works. Like it's obviously like a formula that works, and so I think that's awesome. But my main question was when you ever decided that okay, this will be a mallet quartet piece, how much did you feel how much did you think about previous like mallet quartet pieces? Like were you thinking and going back to like, you know, Steve Reich mallet quartet or like other mallet quartets that like people had written, or were you mostly just focused on I'm gonna write a piece, it's gonna be a mallet quartet, but like this is my piece, so I'm just gonna sort of do my thing in that whatever framework.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Yeah, the last part. So like I really I'm inspired by a lot of like pop music. I feel like every composer says that. But like I'm inspired by like a lot of like modern pop music. So like I love to listen to like what's current today. So when I was writing this piece, just used my own voice. I didn't really have anything that I drew from the past. I feel like it has some remnants of stuff, but it's not like necessarily oh, I wanted to kind of copy this style from this composer or that. I just really wanted to, write something that I knew that like would feel authentic to me. So that's like really my process. A lot of it is just like making sure that I'm authentic and what I'm writing is something that I would want to hear, but also like, that feels very me. So yeah.
And then I was also curious, and forgive me if this was mentioned before and I just couldn't hear it, but where did where did the idea for the fans come in? Because that was like I like the sound of them is very cool. But obviously like there's the visual aspect of it as
Yeah.
well, which was very like unexpected at that point in the piece because there hadn't been a clear sort of like visual component
Yeah.
or at least purposeful visual component. So I'm just curious, like, why, like, that point, like, you know, three-fourths of the way through the piece, did you decide to like add in this sort of like theatrical thing with the fans?
Yeah, yeah. So like that's literally it. So like I wanted to do something visually. So I we had an idea. We were basically just like kind of talking about ideas and I wanted to do something that like kind of pushed a little bit of an envelope for me. So the fan clacks came about because again, slapsticks, rubber bands, like all of those things kind of live in that kind of realm weirdly. So I was like, okay, so what could be cool to see, you know, because it's literally talking about like all I can see are mirrors that riot inside of me, like all those types of like visual kind of words that I'm talking about, seeing, looking. So I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. Let's use fan clacks. And at first they were like, wait, what? Like, how are we gonna like clack a fan and also, play a keyboard instrument? But of course they did it. So essentially that was something that I felt like naturally fit in the realm weirdly. Like I wanted to do something visually, but I didn't know when it would happen. But it's just like it just naturally fell into place with everything else, like the bizarreness of it, because I feel like the piece in itself is there's a lot of unexpected stuff. So let's really do something that's like, what the heck? Like, why do you got this? Like, what is this for? Oh, okay, I get it. It fits everything else that's happening around weirdly. Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. Thanks.
The point about how they're talking about seeing and then you go to something visual.
Yeah.
It's a great example of text painting that's not like oral, like you
Yeah,
actually see it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's super cool.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't think I was like deep, but like I can be pretty deep. So like yeah, I was like, oh man, yeah, we're talking about seeing things. So, it's about spectacle, being glamored. So like I need to glamour you somehow. So that's how that came about. Yeah.
Okay. If nobody has any further questions, we can move on to the next one. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Great. Okay. Which one would you like to talk about next?
Let's do ends to amend.
Great.
Yeah.
Been a minute, man. Have you been? Been a minute, man. Have you been?
Just wanted to see what's up. Just wanted to see what's up.
Learn to see
What's up, man? What's up?
You're hanging in, buddy. You're hanging in, buddy. You're hanging in, buddy.
What's up?
You're hanging in, buddy. You're hanging in, buddy. You're hanging in, buddy. I've been pretty good. Dude. I've been pretty good, dude.
Just wanted to see what's up.
Have you been? Have you been? Have you been?
I think that
Yeah, man.
that's what makes a good friend. Not just knowing about someone. Get up, girl. Beyond surface level. But really knowing and that's why I don't use the word friend. I have very few friends.
While since we last spoke. Been a minute, man. Have you been?
But the ones I have
Have you been? Yeah, man. A lot of moving
but
pieces.
really knowing someone is what makes a friend a friend.
To me, being a friend. Been a minute, man. Have you been?
What's up?
Really beautiful, actually. I'm kind of dreading the winter, so change of scenery. I think it feels good for my mind and spirit. I'm not sure if I told you last time we talked, but I'm going to be deploying pretty soon.
And I just asked you, like, how you came out.
You can find one person
What that was like.
So, like, maybe when all this kind of dies down, by the time we find out,
You know,
just like,
there's a lot of stuff talking to each other. other. Fun time to meet up.
I'm not sure if I told you last time we talked, but
Fun time to meet up. Sorry, Mr.
I'm not sure if I told you.
Through thick and thin, and there are ups and downs.
I'm not sure if I told you.
We always had each other's back.
And I tried to really be there for you. And you used me too.
If I had to describe what friendship means to me, I would describe it as something that's organic.
So that's kind of got things up in the air and constantly changing.
Family can be.
Compassion is something that everyone needs to have, and not just for those that they know or those that
So,
look like
yeah.
them.
Hear him. To me, being a friend really means being supportive, literal, and available to listen, relatable, and to be real.
Even if
Really,
they
my
live
best friends are really honest.
halfway across the country.
Really means caring and nurturing people. Being a friend. My best friends are the most honest. A good friend is honest enough to tell you really means.
Friend is not a word.
Those for those honest, not only with themselves, but
My best friend is the most honest.
Even if they live halfway across the country.
We just have built a lot of memories together. It just makes me sad that we're so far away.
It's the inner divine essence of love that transpires to a lifetime fellowship.
That's all you need, really.
Yeah. True friendship to me is one of the more beautiful experiences we have in this life. However, for me it's really light, free.
How you been? You been doing alright?
And that for me is one of the greatest parts. It's one of the greatest, such a good friendship. Friendship is free feeling.
Get up, girl.
We just have built a lot of memories together.
Get up, girl.
We just have built a lot of memories together.
fun time to meet up.
It just makes me sad that we're so far away.
Friend is not a word that I use lightly.
Because you can't get through life without.
Yeah, the feely, heartfelt piece. Yeah, this piece is so emotional, man. It's it's so sweet, and it's probably like my most played work, which is amazing. I didn't think that this would be the case for this piece. I felt like because it's hard, it's hard to play. Um, it's just I never thought that that would be the case, but yeah, so many people have played it. So many people reach out to me and tell me about like how it's affected them, which is like, makes me feel so happy and also make me cry. But yeah, it's so feely.
Yeah, this piece is awesome. I've heard it before. Can you just like speak a little bit about what the piece is about for those that might not know?
Yeah, so basically Ends to Amend is about like a friendship that I had with somebody. Well, not somebody, but they were my roommate. We like basically were best friends, but like when we left for, to part ways after we graduated, we kind of like fell off. So our friendship went awry. But while I was like writing this work, like we reconnected and bonded again and, formulated that friendship. So basically it's about like friendship in a broader sense. So I asked all of my friends to record like these voicemails, basically just talking about friendship and what that means to them and just like kind of having conversations with me. So like that's basically the tapestry of the work. So that became the electronic soundscape. And then I added, of course, the acoustic stuff, which turned into Ends to Amend. So yeah.
Yeah, I really like the track. I think that's like, I mean, I love it all, but I feel like the track is just like really well integrated.
Thank
in
you.
this piece of music, but then like it's also telling a story, which I
Yeah.
really appreciate. Can like what was it like creating that track? Like how were you thinking about it? Do you see the track as like another performer, or is it like you said, is it setting the scene for the performer to like be a character or whatever, depending on if you're thinking of it like a movie or a play? Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that?
That's beautiful how you put that. Like, yeah, I never thought of it that way. Like it being like this, like kind of like the pillow for them to like lay and be a part of. Yeah, so in my mind, the soundtrack is um very much so its own personality. And then I feel like the performer becomes a part of that too. So it's basically a duet because they're working together to kind of like tell a story. um, so that's I put a lot of effort into the soundtrack, like so that means a lot that that comes across because like I really, thought about the nuance and the sounds that you were gonna hear, um, as well as like making sure that whatever acoustic stuff you heard, really fit within that realm because it could be overwhelming. So I feel like, in my mind, this is a duet because the two voices are working together to have that, dialogue about like, what friendship is and, how do we see that through to the end?
Yeah, I asked that question about the electronics every single time that I find a composer that's written for electronics because I'm trying to get more into writing with electronics. And so I'm trying to figure out like what the electronics mean to me and like where I want them. So thank you for that answer. It's very enlightening and helpful.
Yeah, I love electronic music. So basically, I mean, I feel like I've written a like, pretty extensive like electronic works. So they all kind of have a different character to me. But I know that I really enjoy groove too. So a lot of my electronic tracks they're very structured. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful and you on your journey you can like, figure that out like you know, what you think the piece needs or what you're trying to convey with your experiences with that.
Yes, it definitely is helpful. Does anyone else have questions before I continue asking questions?
I'll ask a question. Yeah. Can you talk about this like deconstructed drum set? Because it almost feels like when people think of drum sets, they think like you have kick and snare and hi-hat and like all the shebang. But this setup feels more like an like original or authentic drum set, like a Foley artist drum set. So can you talk about how you got to that setup?
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks for asking that. So basically the drum set thing, my friend actually plays drum set. So like that was like kind of the inspiration, but we wanted to I wanted to do something that was like unconventional because I want to be cool. So like so yeah, I at the time I was obsessed with metal pipes. So like that ringing, that like it makes me feel it's like some nostalgia for me for some reason. Like I think of like a merry-go-round or something. So like there's a deep nostalgia to it, and then all the other apparatuses was just kind of like natural. So I knew I had to have a kick drum. I know I wanted to have hi-hat because that becomes like an integral part. But everything else we kind of just like played around with. So I was like, oh well, flower pots. Oh, we can use like a bottle, we can use another cymbal stack, so like those things just naturally kind of like a melodica, like those things just naturally like became a part of the fabric as well. Because I just didn't want to keep it so limited to snare, kick, tom, cymbal ride, all that stuff, like, and I feel like a lot of people do that nowadays. So I'm kind of keeping up with the trend. But I knew that like I wanted to for sure have a kick drum and a hi-hat. Like I knew those two things were gonna be traditional. and then everything else we just kind of like messed around with. So
So you keep saying that you all got to mess around with this. So were you able to work like very closely with the performer when you wrote this piece?
yeah, so I wrote it for one of my really good friends. He's actually with Wildlife, Christopher Amick. So like it was for his recital. So we had many conversations. This piece is actually supposed to be a duet, like an actual duet, not just like for solo. But like he talked me out of that, and I'm glad he did. But then like later on, he was like, "Oh man, you should make it like a duet now because it would be kind of cool because you could play with a friend." So making it super meta. But like, so yeah, so I got to work firsthand with him to kind of figure out well what sounds we could mess around with, and that's when that all of this stuff came to fruition. Yeah, the duet movie. Yeah, yeah. Like literally, if I ever find the time to come back to this work, I mean, I already have like a cool cover for it. So like, it's like it makes sense to like have ends to a man with a friend. Like that makes it's already it's already there. It's waiting on me. I am stopping this. It's waiting on me. So when I get the time, I promise you. It'll be out and it'll make sense. Sorry, I went on a tangent, but like, yeah, that just made me think about that whole thing. Cause he was like, yeah, like it started out as a duet and then became like a solo work. And now and now it's gonna become a duet. So like it's just like makes sense.
It's having its own arc. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, literally. It's having its own arc. I feel it.
Yeah. Um, so my next question, just like looking at the underside of make believe and then now into amend, you seem to like as you said, like use more traditional things and then use more like I don't know. I don't like using the word non-traditional because I feel like in percussion, nothing is
It's not
non-traditional
traditional,
anymore.
yeah.
But yeah, like how do you I know you talked about like messing around and stuff with different things and trying different things out, but do you like have any restraints for yourself when you're writing? Or are you just like, I'm gonna write for whatever I want because that's how percussion is? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I try not to limit myself in the beginning stages because I feel like for me, it's really fragile because like I am trying to find my way through the darkness. Because with sketches, I go through so many sketches. So it's just trying to sift through until I get to a point where I'm like, oh, this makes sense. So with beginning my works, I have in mind what I want to use, and then as it develops, there's things that I just add, and I'm just like, hey, is it cool if we do this? And I've been lucky enough to where it's like I've been working with friends, or I've done the mentorships with like Sandbox, and then when I did the Copeland House, I've had the luxury to where I could have that conversation, and they'd be like, yeah, cool. So I guess no, there aren't any restraints. However, I do have a very well thought out like scheme. Like if there's a sound that I start to hear or I'm thinking about like as the piece develops, I just add it and we'll just hope for the best. Normally I don't have that issue where like somebody's like, well, we can't do this. It's not like anything like super far-fetched, like I don't know, like a pipe organ, or I don't know, like something that people don't like allophones, or something like random, like like I guess like a kalimba. I don't know, like something weird. But I try to, if it's something that is obtainable and I know that I can, that 9 times out of 10 they'll have this stuff, I just go for it. So yeah, can't hold me back. I won't be stopped. Can't
You
hold me
shouldn't be
down.
stopped.
Actually, maybe I should. I like low key. I'm like maybe I should be stopped because sometimes I get a little bit out of control. But hey, I haven't had any complaints yet, so we're just gonna keep rolling.
Yes, that's a great mentality, definitely. Okay, so then my next question would be kind of along the same lines. You talked about like how you really like slapstick or there's certain sounds, but you're aware that they're not possible, and then you look for alternatives. So what is that process like? Like, are you like with the slapstick sound? Is it like the timbre, the attack? Like what do you think of when you're looking for a replacement for a sound you want that you know cannot happen?
Yeah, so with that particular sound, I'm thinking about, well, what is my performer doing? Like, are they going to be able to, slapstick? Like, are they like, and there's ways to do it now. Like, you can always mount one and just like, or you can hit it. But like, honestly, I'm thinking about the performer, and then I'm also thinking about like, well, the practicality of it, like maybe something that's a little bit more accessible to find. So that's why rubber band snaps always work because you just need to buy a rubber band, a fat one. So like that's all you need. So like I mean, essentially, you know, kind of thinking in, and I don't want to say unconventional because it's not unconventional. Everybody's doing it, but like like trying to just broaden my sound palette to, oh well, where maybe there's another way to still have that sound but use something that is unexpected or a little bit more accessible, because who wants to carry around slapstick all day? I mean, I would, but who wants to carry that like for every performance, like just for one crack? Like, I mean, I'm
But that
sorry.
would be awesome. You just carrying it around and randomly
It's
just
so
slapping
right.
at people. Just get annoyed.
Yeah. So,
Um,
but yeah.
Sweet. Mackenzie, do you have any questions or do we want to move on? Okay. Which one next?
Let's do Giant Woman because that one is a little different. So yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I wrote that piece in undergrad. So like, well, so I was still at USC. That was for the New Voices concert that we have for the percussion studio there. So like each of the composers in the percussion studio or the composition studio, I'm sorry, we at the end of the semester we write pieces to have it premiered. So yeah, that was my senior year when I wrote that. So yeah, crazy.
Super cool piece. I love
Thank
the
you.
use of the bass clarinet with the synth. It
Yeah.
mixes so well.
Yeah, yeah. That was like basically like the driving force. I love synthesizers, so like I wanted to put the two together, um, and add, of course, keyboards around it. So lush. So the ending of that piece is really pretty too. I think that's probably like the best ending that I've written so far. So like, because it just makes sense, like everything's kind of like unraveling. So pretty. But yeah, I love this piece.
And the rubber bands, they showed up again.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Like literally, I feel like that's like I think of it like this, like each piece that I write, it's literally like an extension of the one prior. So like I'm always, kind of recycling through the same material till I get it right in my mind.
Mhm.
So yeah, so like I hear this piece now and I'm like, wow, some of this actually sounds like the underside of Make Believe that we heard earlier. Like they have kind of the same they could live in the same space. And that's good because I wrote them both. So like yeah, I never thought about it like that. Like, man, I am like really like, it's constantly a conversation that is like, you know, being threaded through the next work. So yeah.
Man, that is it's really cool to hear that because I feel like, just like speaking as a composer for a moment, when I write, I feel like every single thing is like a whole new idea that's like not at all connected. But maybe there is a conversation going on there and I just need to take a step back and like feel it out, figure out what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But so I'm gonna go back to the bass clarinet. I'm just intrigued. So because I feel like the bass clarinet and the melodica, like you're writing for wind instruments. Was that just by happenstance? Was that like what you were given in school? Like you got to write for bass clarinet and percussion, or is this something you decided to do? Like how did you decide that that was the instrument you wanted with the percussion ensemble?
Yeah, so actually I wrote a few other pieces prior to this that used winds. So the first piece that I ever wrote for like when I was at USC was called Fragmented Shards of Crystallized Water. So that has flute and soprano saxophone with percussion. I think it's like a octet or something like that. So like I've always been interested in like the hybridness and it kind of harkens back to like the marching band thing that I had. Like I feel like a lot of that stuff kind of was remnant to how it progressed up until now. So when I wrote Giant Woman, I know that I wanted to use bass clarinet because it's such a great instrument. It's like so versatile. It can do so many different things. The range is wild. So like I wanted to do that and then kind of keep the same kind of like setup with adding keyboard percussion because, you know, that was just easy and natural for me to, you know, put together. So, yeah.
Mackenzie, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to say, oh my god, that bird just attacked me. It's fine. That the low notes from the synth with the low notes from the bass just scratched my brain in the most beautiful way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, the two of them, they live in the same realm, like the synth and the bass clarinet. Yeah, I wish I could do it for Contra because, oh God, just the rattle. I know, like, but yeah, the two. It was like a match made in heaven. Putting synth. I knew I wanted to write for synth. And I was like, well, what would sound like a synth, and I could play around with the two, and bass clarinet just made sense there. It made synth there. See what I did? Yeah. Yeah, like if you ever have time, like the ending, you should listen to the ending. It's so cool. It's kind of like capsized, as far as like it kind of puts everything bookends the whole piece. It's originally about one of my favorite cartoons is Steven Universe. So like it's based off of the ideas of fusions. So like gems fusing together to make an even bigger gem. So they're referenced as giant woman. So like Stephen calls them that, and that's like where this is. So it's lush and pretty, and you know, um that exploration. So yeah.
Yeah, super cool. I also really liked, okay, two thoughts. First, I feel like the bass clarinet also like fits really well with the low range of the marimba. And so I liked though how you were using the upper register, because there were moments where I was like, wait, that could be marimba, wait, but I think it's a bass clarinet, but then the upper register of the marimba is playing, so like what's happening? It's just like a really cool moment. But then I also like how you've got like all this lush stuff going on, and then you've got the snaps and all of the like very articulate sounds as well that are interspersed.
Yeah, again, that's another like I feel like following the line of pieces like that eventually morphs into, the underside of Make Believe, like the whole like lushness, but there's these weird snaps that kind of like, bring you to um like it cleanses the palate. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks. I'm glad that like works. I feel like at that time, baby JaRon was just like doing things. He was just doing things. So
Yeah, well, Beethoven and Bach and them were just doing things, and then music
yeah.
theorists came along later and was like, look at what they were doing.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okay, we want to move on to the last piece? Let's do it.
Wow, yeah, the piece is intense. Yeah, just a little backstory. So that's No Music on a Dead Planet. That the lore behind that was like there's this astronaut stuck in space that gets this like distress call from this like ghost from a planet that's like now have been like it's been eradicated. So that's why like you hear in the backing track like Help Me. That's like basically what he's hearing. So like he gets to the planet and of course he's navigating through this like wasteland, but he's still hearing the ghost of this thing or whatever that's just saying help me. So yeah, a lot of lore.
My favorite moment is when you're using I think they're hot rods on the vibraphone, and then you go and use them on the snare drum. I'm like, yes! I didn't know I needed this, but I did need it. It's
Thank you.
awesome.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah. So like honestly, throughout the entire, it's a two movement work. Like essentially, it's supposed to all be played with sticks or hot rods, and the vibraphone motor is supposed to be running, so it's like creating this like whirringness. So in the performance, unfortunately, we couldn't get that, but essentially, like that's kind of creating this like anxiousness, this like weird otherworldly vibe. But yeah, pun intended vibe. But yeah, so yeah, thank you. I'm glad that came across. I'm glad you liked that. Thanks.
Yeah, it was super sweet. And then once again, you like reused the rhythmic motive that we'd just been hearing and just came together so nicely. What was the idea behind the trash can? Because that's also a great moment where like you've been playing on the snare drum and then the trash can comes in.
Yeah, so we wanted to, when I was working with Chase to create this piece, it's all about like, so the Green Vibe project is all about, of course, like reduce, reuse, recycle. So like a lot of the pieces that they commission have some sort of like upcycled percussion, like they'll have like rain trees that'll be like all bottle caps or like wind chimes that are all like keys, which are really cool stuff. So like we wanted to kind of use something that kind of, you know, harkened back to, of course, save the earth. So a trash can just became the best object in that sphere. It has a really nice tone, but we didn't want to use like a big drum, like a bass drum or something. So like we just of course thought, hey man, it could also have curb appeal if we picked a trash can. So yeah.
And does the title also go back to what the project is about? Because before you told me that story, I thought the piece was about like the earth, and the earth was like, help me, and we're just like chugging along, being like, we're gonna do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great interpretation. Like, yes, that is amazing. That like literally works in this. So there's actually the title came from it's a organization from the UK. It's Music Declares, but their whole mission is entitled No Music on a Dead Planet. So that's where the title came from. So essentially we had the title officially first, and then the piece came after. But yeah, that I never thought of it like that. Like literally, it's the earth screaming, Help me!" And we're just doing our own thing. We're just like, hey, it's all jolly. I know it's sweet until it ain't sweet. So yeah, so yeah, that's great. Thank you. That's beautiful. Like yeah, I love it.
Mackenzie or Lucas, do you have anything you would like to ask or add?
Yeah, no, I feel it. Yeah. Um, no, this piece was great. It was fun to write. I've never written a multi-movement work, so I feel like it's literally dipping my toe in it, my big toe. because this isn't even like the extent of where this could go. But yeah, this piece is really dear. It has a lot of energy, and it's kind of creepy too because of the mechanical help me voice. It's like what? And then the screaming at the end. And I didn't think a lot of that stuff would work at the end, like with just how he's like just hitting, the trash can and the snare, like well, those like rim shots. And it's like so impactful. Like after hearing all this like really, groovy, um, somewhat like just like groovy patterns and stuff. To get to that ending, it's like it in the screaming, it's like really cool. So
It is
yay
super
me.
cool. It is
Yay
super
me.
cool. I feel like it
Okay.
really just like it ends the piece on the right note in terms of
Yeah.
just like, as you said, like you're grooving along, everything's good, and then all of a sudden everything's not good. But that's the
Yeah.
first moment of like rhythmic clarity in the performer's part. So it's a cool juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like it's literally no music on a dead planet, but there's music. So like so it's just like what the heck, man. It's great.
Okay, one final question related to your
Yeah.
music, and then there will be another final question. But
Yeah.
so you keep talking about like this juxtaposition in your works between like calming and beautiful, but then also like this creepy like undercurrent, or in this case, like the creepiness comes out at the end. Yeah, like what brings about that in your works? Like, is that something you mean to put in every time, or does it just keep showing up?
Yeah. I now that I'm like hyper aware of it, it keeps showing up in everything. Which is cool. I like the ambivalence kind of like this two conflicting emotions battling. I feel like I'm always gonna gravitate towards really making something really pretty, but also like looking at it when it's not that way. I feel like that's life. Like everything isn't, as we would like to say, all roses. So it's just me, writing music through my lens and, wanting things to be beautiful, but it not always being the case. So, and in some cases, like it's subtle stuff. It's like little minute things. And then in this instance, it's like an overkill because, I'm really trying to, get a drama effect. So I feel like that'll never change for me. And I hope that doesn't because um, I enjoy that ambivalence. It's beautiful to me. So
That's awesome. I love the drawback to life. Life is definitely that way. Um, well, thank you so much, JaRon, for being here today. We really appreciated getting to know about you and getting to know about your works. What do you have anything that's coming up that we should look into? Or like I know we can find your stuff on Wildlight Publications. Anything else we should look into?
yeah, thank you for having me first. I appreciated this experience and talking to you all. Thanks for spending your Sunday afternoon with me. Yeah, so I am actually working on a trio for Pathos percussion that will hopefully be out very soon. I'll go ahead and like, maybe I shouldn't reveal anything just yet. It's a really cool title, and I'm actually really excited. It's like a heavy metal piece, like the genre heavy metal. So like, it's gonna be like really different than what I've written so far. But I'm excited about that. I'm also working on a piece for my alma mater, USC Percussion Ensemble. I'm writing a piece for them that's going to be premiered at PASIC this year. So that'll be exciting. Yeah, I know. So yeah, don't say anything about it. Just like keep that between us. But yeah, so they're going to be premiering a piece of mine for PASIC. I mean, you can tell people I don't care. But like, yeah, so that'll be cool. I'll tell you that title. That piece is called Venus, about like it's about the planet. But also like I'm a really big Sailor Moon fan. So like it's about like literally Sailor Scouts and Venus. That's also like astrological, that's my like ruling sign. So, because I'm a Taurus, so like that kind of all, it's about all that stuff. So yeah, and then that's it for now. I'm just gonna be chilling, working and chilling and writing. So
That
thank you.
sounds awesome. Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, now I gotta figure out how to stop the recording.
I know, it's all funny.